Come and play with us, Daddy.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most legendary and iconic movie scenes that were improvised.
Thank you. I try. We all try. You succeed.
Number 50, The Farting Story, Good Will Hunting.
My wife used to fart when she was nervous. She had all sorts of wonderful little idiosyncrasies.
Despite being one of his more dramatic roles, Robin Williams still provided plenty of humor throughout Good Will Hunting. Perhaps the most notable example is the story he shares with Will about his late wife farting in her sleep. The entire monologue was made up by Williams, and it actually caused Matt Damon to laugh for real.
She woke up and got like, oh, was that you? See, I didn't have the heart to tell her. Oh, God. She woke herself up.
Of course, this being a funny story in the first place, they decided to just keep the laughter in. Legend also has it that you can see the camera shaking slightly, which is the result of the camera operator also chuckling behind the scenes. Number 49, Dancing for Pedro, Napoleon Dynamite.
You perform a skit after your speech, Pedro.
What? A flippin' skit? Why didn't anybody tell us about this?
Much to his horror, Pedro learns that he must perform a skit as part of his election speech. Napoleon takes one for the team and does the skit for him, dancing to Jamiroquai's Canned Heat. This impresses the student body, and Napoleon finally gets some respect and adoration from his peers. With a little additional help from co-star Tina Majorino, this weirdly touching dance was completely improvised by John Heder, who took inspiration from the likes of Michael Jackson and Saturday Night Fever. Heder performed 3 different dances, and the best parts of each were spliced together in the editing room.
Pedro, just listen to your heart. That's what I do.
Number 48, Hiller Welcomes the Aliens, Independence Day.
Ship all banged up? Who's the man? Huh? Who's the man?
It's one of the most iconic scenes in science fiction. An alien climbs out of a spaceship only to be met by the fist of Captain Steve Hiller, who delivers a one-liner for the ages. Punching an alien in the face is epic, delivering a one-liner immediately after even more so. And it all came from the mind of Will Smith.
Welcome to Earth.
While the close encounter line was in the script, screenwriter Dean Devlin revealed to Yahoo that Smith improvised Welcome to Earth. Apparently, Smith didn't love the line and changed it while filming, impressing Roland Emmerich so much that he left it in the movie. Now that's what we call good improv. Number 47, The Arm Reload, Mission Impossible Fallout. One scene from the 6th Mission Impossible film took the internet by storm, and that was the famous arm reload. August Walker is fighting some goons in a washroom when he suddenly pumps both of his arms, almost as if he's reloading a weapon. Then again, have you seen those arms? Those are weapons.
It's the job. No hard feelings.
According to director Christopher McQuarrie, this little motion was improvised by Henry Cavill. To make the story even funnier, he didn't even notice it while filming, telling the Toronto Sun, "I don't even think I was aware of it until we were editing the scene." Well, it didn't take long for the internet to become aware of it, that's for sure.
Where's the needle? Didn't need it.
Number 46, But Why Male Models? Zoolander. The titular male model isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, which comes in handy when Ben Stiller forgets his lines.
That is not true.
Yes, it is, Derek.
Okay.
In one of the movie's most important scenes, David Duchovny's J.P. Pruitt lays out a complicated conspiracy involving an evil plot and a series of male models. He goes into specifics about why male models are chosen, including their physiques. Derek listens to it all, but not a minute later asks again why male models are chosen.
But why male models?
You serious? I just told you that a moment ago.
This hilarious question was improvised by Stiller, who had forgotten his next line and simply decided to repeat the question. It definitely works, being totally in line with his buffoonish and clueless character. Number 45, The Pity Party Speech, Bridesmaids.
Nope, I don't think you want any help. I think you want to have a little pity party. Yeah, I think Annie wants a little pity party. Is that what you want?
Sometimes you just need a bit of tough love, and that's where Megan comes in. Annie is at a low point in her life and feeling a bit sorry for herself. That's when Megan makes a surprise visit to give a surprisingly effective pep talk, essentially telling her to suck it up and move on.
Now you gotta stop feeling sorry for yourself, okay? Because I do not associate with people that blame the world for their problems, because you're your problem, Annie, and you're also your solution.
Much of this speech was ad-libbed by Melissa McCarthy, who would later receive an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress. According to director Paul Feig, many details throughout the speech were made up by McCarthy, like Megan having high security clearance at a government facility and being tormented by other kids in high school.
No, this was not easy going up and down the halls. Okay, they used to try to blow me up. They threw firecrackers at my head. Firecrackers.
Number 44, Think of My Children, The Mummy, This old-fashioned adventure flick blends action, comedy, and horror into one glorious package, making us all realize why we love going to the movies. Brendan Fraser does a lot of the movie's heavy comedic lifting, but he's aided by the wonderful Kevin J. O'Connor playing Benny Gabor.
You always did have more balls than brains.
The two play off each other perfectly, like in this scene where Rick catches Benny spying on him. Rick points a gun at Benny and then threatens to kill him, prompting Benny to yell, "Think of my children," in a desperate attempt to save himself. This line was improvised by O'Connor. In the script he says, "You were never any good with the ladies, O'Connell," and that's not nearly as memorable.
Think of my children.
You don't have any children.
Someday I might.
Shut up.
Number 43, I'm the King of the World, Titanic. This legendary film is chock full of iconic moments like young Jack Dawson standing on the bow of the ship and proclaiming himself the King of the World.
I'm the King of the world!
Believe it or not, this was not in the script. In Cameron's shooting text, the camera pans away after Fabrizio says that he can see the Statue of Liberty. However, Cameron wanted a little more, so he and Leonardo DiCaprio experimented with different ideas on set. It was Cameron who came up with the iconic line, and while DiCaprio didn't like it, he did it anyway, and made movie history in the process. It's now ranked as the 100th best movie quote of all time by the American Film Institute.
I said, "I'm the king of the world. Just say I'm the king of the world. But you gotta sell it."
Yeah.
He goes, "What?"
Number 42, Give It Up for Gordon, The Dark Knight.
And here we go.
Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker is almost mythical at this point, and like most myths, there exists a degree of uncertainty and dramatic exaggeration. For example, it's long been rumored that Ledger's reaction to the delayed hospital explosion was improvised. It was not. But what was improvised was the sarcastic clapping for James Gordon. According to Christopher Nolan, Ledger kept everyone on their toes and did a lot of improvising on set, whether it be entirely new lines or little bits of physical work. Apparently, it was Ledger's idea to have the Joker clap for Gordon, and this little idea has since become one of the movie's most iconic visuals. Number 41, Adrian's Broadcasts, Good Morning Vietnam.
Good morning, Vietnam! Hey, this is not a test. This is rock and roll.
Good Will Hunting isn't the only movie to flex the improv chops of Robin Williams. Almost 10 years earlier, he was playing Adrian Cronauer in Good Morning Vietnam and making up most of his material. Director Barry Levinson forbade Williams from meeting the real Cronauer, as he didn't want Williams doing an impression.
Well, yes, people are you the enemy, and whoever says yes, we shoot them.
As a result, Williams later claimed that his portrayal of Adrian was only 5% Cronauer, 95% himself. This is highly obvious in the famous broadcast sequences, the hyperactive ramblings of which are pure Robin Williams. Unsurprisingly, these broadcasts were entirely improvised, with Levinson giving the famous comedian free rein behind the microphone.
Goodbye, Vietnam! That's right. I'm history. I'm out of here. I got the lucky ticket home, baby.
Number 40, All Right, Dazed and Confused. It must feel pretty darn good to have one of your improvised lines become an iconic piece of movie history.
All right.
Dazed and Confused is a cult classic that is largely remembered for Matthew McConaughey's David Wooderson. David has been widely memed throughout the years, and many of his lines are modern-day classics. One of them is, of course, all right, which is now something of a catchphrase for McConaughey himself. According to the actor, that legendary line was completely improvised. He heard action from writer-director Richard Linklater and spontaneously made movie history. Not too bad for your first major gig.
That's what I love about these high school girls, man. I get older, they stay the same age.
Number 39, Al Pacino hits a garbage can. Scent of a Woman. This movie earned Al Pacino his first Oscar win. He plays Lieutenant Colonel Frank Slade, a cranky man who is blind and is aided by Chris O'Donnell's Charlie Sims. In one of the movie's best sequences, Frank is walking down a busy street, runs into a garbage can, and stumbles.
Colonel!
Legend has it that this was completely unplanned. Pacino apparently got into character by not allowing his eyes to focus, thereby simulating a degree of impaired vision. While shooting the scene, it's been said he genuinely didn't see the can and walked straight into it. Luckily, both he and O'Donnell are consummate pros, so they apparently just kind of ran with it.
How are you doing? Take the cane.
I gotta take a piss.
Take the cane, Colonel.
Happens to the best of us.
Number 38, Stu Song, The Hangover. Hitting the pause button on their efforts to find Doug, the main trio takes a break inside of their trashed hotel suite. Stu uses this opportunity to hop on the piano and sing a short song about his missing friend.
What do tigers dream of when they take a little tiger snooze? Do they dream of mauling zebras or Halle Berry in her Catwoman suit?
The set of The Hangover was evidently quite welcoming, with director Todd Phillips encouraging creative freedom. As such, Stu's song was reportedly crafted by the musically talented Ed Helms.
Don't you worry, pretty striped head, we're gonna get you back to Tyson and your cozy tiger bed. Then we're gonna find our best friend Doug, and then we're gonna give him a best friend hug.
According to Helms, he would often goof around on the piano while filming, so Phillips decided to have him sing in the movie. The result was Stu's song, and one of the most memorable laughs of the whole film.
Doug, oh, Doug, 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 Doug.
Number 37, Eating Baby Corn, Big. This classic Tom Hanks comedy concerns Josh Baskin, a 12-year-old kid who makes an ambiguous wish to become big. The next day, the preteen is suddenly grown into a grown man portrayed by Hanks.
You turned me into a grown-up. It was last night at the carnival. My birthday's November 3rd. Mom, I gotta be in my history test.
Yeah, take the birth. You can have anything that's in it.
The result is a lot of great physical comedy, with the adult Hanks often acting like a child. The iconic actor brought a lot of creative magic to the performance, including one scene in which Josh eats baby corn like corn on the cob. Apparently, director Penny Marshall signaled to Hanks that she wanted him to do something with the corn, and this is what we came up with. It was so great it ended up in the movie, which we think was a great decision. Number 36, Mrs. White's Speech, Clue. Near the end of this classic whodunit, Mrs. White comically describes her hatred for Yvette.
Yes, I did it. I killed Yvette.
This is a defining and utterly hilarious moment in the movie, and it largely came from the creative mind of actress Madeline Kahn. Director Jonathan Lynn was reportedly quite strict about improvising and generally liked to keep to the script. However, this scene proved the exception as Kahn seemingly couldn't help herself. She took a straightforward line from the script and spinned it into comic gold, rambling and perfectly stumbling over her words. The confused reactions from the other characters were also genuine, as the actors had no idea what Kahn was saying.
I hated her so much. It flames on the side of my face, heaving breaths.
Number 35, Many Moments, Anchorman: The Legend of Ron Burgundy. And here we come to the other end of the spectrum. Anchorman had a script courtesy of Adam McKay and Will Ferrell, but it seems that as director, McKay gave his actors lots of freedom when it came to improv.
I love desk.
Brick, are you just looking at things in the office and saying that you love them?
I love lamp.
According to Paul Rudd, they would shoot the scene how it was written in the script and then do takes where they just improvised and played off each other. As such, many of the movie's more iconic lines were ad-libbed by the actors, including Brick's famous I love lamp moment. Another was apparently Ron Burgundy's glass case of emotion, a brilliant term for the phone booth that's been said to have been made up by Will Ferrell.
Ron, where are you?
I'm in a glass case of emotion!
Number 34, Going to 11, and much more. This is Spinal Tap. Rob Reiner is a brilliant director who is clearly a fan of improv. For example, the iconic
I'll have what she's having
from When Harry Met Sally was reportedly made up by Billy Crystal and given to Reiner's mother to say. But that's nothing compared to This is Spinal Tap. Reiner told the British Film Institute that almost the entire movie was improvised. Usually all they had were loose story arcs guiding how a scene should play, with some material anchoring the story. For example, they knew they wanted an amp that went to 11, but the bulk of the ordeal is pure improv magic, with the dialogue being made up on the spot by Christopher Guest and Reiner himself.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
Number 33, The Truffle Shuffle, The Goonies. This iconic film from Richard Donner is known for its sense of adventure, but that would mean nothing without a memorable cast of characters at the helm.
But right now they gotta do what's right for them, because it's their time. Their time. Up there. Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here.
One of them is Jeff Cohen's Chunk, who is unfortunately often ridiculed for his appearance. In one of the movie's most well-known scenes, Chunk is told he has to do the Truffle Shuffle before he can come into the house. He proceeds to lift his shirt and shake his belly while making a funny face. According to Donner, he didn't give any direction to Cohen, and the silly dance was made up by the young actor. Number 32, Takagi Won't Be Returning, Die Hard. At a time of wild excess in the action movie industry, Die Hard brilliantly flipped the script. One of the most notable aspects of the groundbreaking film was villain Hans Gruber.
Nice suit. John Phillips, London. I have two myself.
He wasn't a stereotypically macho guy, but rather a sharp-dressed and wickedly intelligent man who utilized wits over brawn. Alan Rickman understood the assignment and, apparently, personally crafted one of the movie's most darkly comedic lines. After killing Takagi, Hans informs the building that their boss won't be returning for the rest of his life. The line was reportedly improvised by Rickman, and his coy delivery makes it a classic.
I wanted this to be professional, efficient, adult, cooperative, not a lot to ask. Alas, your Mr. Takagi did not see it that way, so he won't be joining us for the rest of his life.
Number 31. Sam Doesn't Care, The Fugitive.
We got a gopher.
A classic cat and mouse thriller, The Fugitive stars Harrison Ford as the titular good guy and Tommy Lee Jones as his pursuer, Deputy U.S. Marshal Sam Gerard. Jones is a veteran of the screen, and he knows when something sounds good. During the storm drain scene, Kimball makes one more effort to convince the marshal of his innocence. Sam isn't having it and coldly responds by saying,
I don't care!
Jones was reportedly supposed to say something along the lines of, "So you didn't kill your wife, not my problem," but it seems he decided to put a little spin on it. We think he did a great job, as the new line sounds far colder and more unforgiving. Number 30. Game over, man. Game over. Aliens. In this iconic sequel from James Cameron, the late Bill Paxton plays Hudson, a soldier sent to investigate planet LV-426.
Man, this floor is freezing.
What do you want me to do, fetch his slippers for you?
Gee, would you, sir? I'd like that.
Hudson is, let's face it, a bit of a whiner, but his anxious personality helped make him a fan favorite. His immaturity is on full display after the dropship crashes, leaving him and the other heroes stranded on the planet. Hudson goes into full panic mode and utters one of the most iconic lines of the franchise.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
The "what are we supposed to do now" part of the dialogue was scripted, but Paxton reportedly added the famous game over bit himself. Number 29. The Cinderella Story, Caddyshack. Bill Murray is said to have improvised many of his most famous on-screen moments, like excitedly greeting Ned Ryerson with a hug in Groundhog Day and claiming that ghosts ate the piano in Ghostbusters.
I hate this. I like to torture him.
But the best has to be the Cinderella Story from Caddyshack. Legend has it that Murray improvised most of his lines, receiving only vague directions from Harold Ramis. That was apparently the case with this scene, in which Murray was reportedly simply told to behave in kid-like fashion. It seems he did the rest, using a grass whip as a golf club and imagining himself at the U.S. Masters.
He's got a beautiful backswing.
Dad, oh, he got all of that one.
Number 28. Miracle Max, The Princess Bride.
The king's stinking son fired me, and thank you so much for bringing up such a painful subject. While you're at it, why don't you give me a nice paper cut and pour lemon juice on it? We're closed!
It's obvious that Rob Reiner and Billy Crystal had a great working relationship, and that Reiner understood the genius of Crystal's brand of comedy. The comedian briefly appeared in Reiner's The Princess Bride, donning a heap of makeup to play Miracle Max. Crystal spent just 3 days on set, and Reiner allowed him to ad-lib many of his lines. The result was total joy, not just for the audience, but for the folks on set as well. Reiner even stepped away due to laughing too hard. Mandy Patinkin also claims that he potentially cracked a rib while trying desperately to contain his laughter.
Well, with all dead, there's usually only one thing that you can do.
What's that?
Go through his clothes and look for loose change.
Number 27. Wonka's Introduction, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Willy Wonka is, shall we say, a wee bit of a troll.
Don't just stand there, do something!
Help. Police. Murder.
The guy loves to have a laugh, and yes, the jokes often come at the expense of children. Wonka makes his first public appearance after years living as a recluse, and it's not what the kids were expecting. He seems frail and delicate, walking slowly with a cane and not displaying much in the way of mirth. However, he reveals with a playful somersault that it was all an act. This entire bit came to be thanks to the late Gene Wilder, as he wanted to characterize Wonka as untrustworthy and hard to read. In Wilder's own words, no one would know if I was lying or telling the truth.
Delighted to meet you, sir. Overjoyed, enraptured, entranced. Are we ready? Yes. Good. In we go.
Number 26, the necklace presentation, Pretty Woman.
If I forget to tell you later, I had a really good time tonight.
The titular Pretty Woman is Vivian Ward, a sex worker who is hired to be a social escort for Edward Lewis. At one point, Edward presents Vivian with a gorgeous and very expensive necklace. In real life, this piece of jewelry is rumored to have been quite expensive, but that's not even the wildest part of the story. During the presentation, he playfully closes the box on her hand, causing her to laugh in surprise. This was actually an unscripted prank planned by Richard Gere and director Gary Marshall, so Julia Roberts' reaction is real. The central pair's chemistry is just off the charts, and this brilliant bit only added to their magnetism. Number 25, the funniest ending in movie history, Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Stanley Kubrick is known for his dense and complex dramas, but he also had a stellar eye for comedy. Dr. Strangelove is a brilliant satire of the Cold War and, by extension, humanity's penchant for violence and destruction.
If, prior to this time, we have done nothing further to suppress their retaliatory capabilities, we will suffer virtual annihilation.
Much of the movie's genius stems from its star Peter Sellers, who improvised the bulk of his dialogue. Sellers' greatest achievement seems to have been the movie's famous ending, in which Dr. Strangelove randomly rises from his wheelchair and realizes that he can walk.
I have a plan. Monsieur! I can walk!
This fantastic bit of comedy was reportedly all Sellers, and it's now regarded as one of the funniest endings in movie history. Few people could match Kubrick's genius, but Sellers was evidently one of them. Number 24, Mr. Blonde's Dance, Reservoir Dogs. Despite his cheery and rather innocent-sounding name, Mr. Blonde is anything but. He's actually quite sadistic, and this is coming from the other criminals of the movie.
Psychopath ain't a professional. Can't work with a psychopath.
Blonde's mean streak is best exemplified in the infamous dance sequence, which sees him tormenting a police officer. According to actor Michael Madsen, the only real direction given in the script was Mr. Blonde maniacally dances around. It was up to him to decide what that looked like. Madsen had also reportedly never rehearsed the dance with Quentin Tarantino, so he simply made it up on the day of shooting. The rest is history. Number 23. You Can't Handle the Truth, A Few Good Men. You Can't Handle the Truth did for courtrooms what I'm King of the World did for boats. It's basically impossible not to say it while inside one.
Hey, look, I'm King of the World! Woo!
It's an absolute zinger, and in 2005 it was rated the 29th best American movie line of all time by the American Film Institute. Not too shabby for Jack Nicholson. Yeah, the movie was penned by legendary screenwriter Aaron Sorkin, but it was apparently Nicholson who came up with this particular quote. It's believed that the line in the script read, "You already have the truth," but that doesn't sound as sharp. Enter Nicholson, who seemingly made a couple, shall we say, unforgettable alterations.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Number 22. I Know. Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back.
What if he doesn't survive? He's worth a lot to me.
The Empire will compensate you if he dies. Put him in!
It was the moment everyone was waiting for. Princess Leia, devastated that Han is about to be frozen, finally tells him that she loves him. And his response, not "I love you too," not a reassuring smile, but a cold and unflinching "I know." In the script, Han actually does respond with the banal "I love you too," but Harrison Ford recognized that it doesn't really fit the character's snarky and unemotional personality. They reportedly shot the scene with Ford sticking to the script for protection. Ford himself came up with the "I know" that ultimately gave us movie magic.
I love you.
I know.
Number 21. Don't forget the dessert, The Godfather. Francis Ford Coppola's masterpiece isn't exactly a humorous affair, but it's not without some laughs. One of the funniest moments comes after Paulie is killed, with Clemenza telling Rocco to
leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
It's a fantastic line that not only introduces a macabre sense of normalcy to the violence, but it plays into a previous line about Clemenza being told to pick up cannoli. It's also delivered in a dry comic fashion by actor Richard Castellano, which helps get across just how mundane these activities are. The line in both the script and novel is simply "leave the gun." A talk Castellano had with his wife, Ardell Sheridan, led to the idea of adding the cannoli bit and bringing Clemenza's day full circle.
Don't forget the cannoli.
Yeah.
Number 20. Show tune, The Warriors. For the Coney Island confrontation between this film's rival gangs, director Walter Hill wanted David Patrick Kelly's character Luther to taunt the Warriors from his '55 Cadillac, and he gave him free rein to do it any way he wanted. Kelly clinked 3 bottles together in one hand and delivered the legendary sing-song taunt that we've come to know.
Warriors, come out to play.
According to Kelly, it was a childhood tormentor that inspired the chant. It also helps that he's a musician blessed with the singing chops for the line.
Warriors, come out to play. Warriors, come out to play.
Number 19. Just Kicking It, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Showbiz is dangerous. During a particularly emotional scene in the adaptation of Tolkien's trilogy, Viggo Mortensen's character Aragorn breaks down when he comes to the realization that 2 of his hobbit friends might be dead, and he expresses himself by kicking a nearby helmet. Turns out his breakdown was not only emotional, but also physical, because after too many takes of kicking solid metal, he broke 2 toes.
And then he let out this scream. I thought, wow, this is strong. I mean, this is like Aragorn is like just in total grief at what's just happened to Merry and Pippin. This is really cool. And he didn't say anything to us, but we found out that Viggo had actually broken 2 toes with that last kick.
The shot chosen for the final cut of the film was the toe breaker, because you can't fake the intensity of the actor's excruciating pain.
Viggo actually, feeling that pain, he actually turned that into performance.
Number 18, The Barn Story, Saving Private Ryan.
He's working on this bra and he's trying to get it off, and all of a sudden John just screams out, "Danny, you're a young man, don't do it."
Matt Damon only shows up towards the end of this epic war film, and he's so preoccupied with survival, we barely get to know his character. Except in this scene, which was improvised by the actor.
She screams and she jumps up and she tries to get running out of the barn, but she's still got this shirt over her head. She goes running right into the wall and knocks herself out. So now Dan is just so mad at us.
As Ryan and Captain Miller quietly await more fighting, Private Ryan reminisces about his lost brothers in a spontaneous tale.
He loses the shovel, goes out of his grasp, it hits a kerosene lantern. The thing explodes. The whole barn almost goes up because of this thing.
Damon obviously thinks the story is as funny as we do, but once he realizes it's the last time his family was together, the scene takes on a bittersweet feel, made all the more impressive when you remember it was ad-libbed.
Dan went off to basic the next day. That was the last night the 4 of us were together.
Number 17, The Zit, Animal House.
See if you can guess what I am now.
When a director gives a comedian like John Belushi a little wiggle room, anything can happen. But it's almost guaranteed to be funny. John Landis knew that when Bluto began dumping food onto his tray, something magical might occur, so he let the cameraman follow him for the rest of the scene. Everything Belushi did in the cafeteria was unscripted, and since the cast and crew weren't in on his joke or its disgusting punchline, the reactions captured on camera were real.
I'm a zit. Get it?
It's classic Belushi, and possibly the flick's most famous scene. Number 16, Chest Waxing, The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Some say a comic is only as good as his ability to improvise. By that logic, this film features some stellar comedians, as it has many unscripted moments, including Steve Carell's genuine pain-induced curses at having his very hairy chest waxed.
Sweetie pie! ¿Cómo se llama? No, Kelly Clarkson!
On top of that, Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen's jokes were completely off the cuff.
You know, I know you're gay. You just told me you're not sleeping with women anymore.
And if you're a fan of their back-and-forth banter, you should check out the extended DVD scenes, where the two try to outdo each other for several minutes. All ad-libbed, of course.
You know how I know you're gay?
How?
You like Coldplay.
Number 15, Roy Batty's monologue, Blade Runner.
Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave.
It's completely natural for actors to tweak their lines for a monologue, but rarely do they go beyond grammar or sentence structure to resonate this much with the character and audience.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion.
Though there were previous scripted versions of this soliloquy, Rutger Hauer mainly improv the depth and philosophical musings of Roy Batty's last words, and gave us even more reason to ask the question, what is human?
All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain.
It might sound a little cheesy on paper, but it isn't when it's delivered as a replicant leader's dramatic final epiphany.
Time to die.
Number 14, Sword to a Gunfight, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Actors aren't immune to travel troubles, and even a tough guy like Harrison Ford submitted to dysentery while filming Raiders in Tunisia. That's a big reason this scene was altered. Originally, Indy was supposed to engage the show-offy swordsman in a choreographed sword fight where the adventurous archaeologist would disarm him with his whip. But Ford was sick and just wanted to shoot the guy. Though it wasn't improvised while cameras rolled, that move impacted the franchise in a big way. And the scene is one of the series' most iconic and hilarious moments. Number 13, the most annoying sound in the world, Dumb and Dumber.
You're it. You're it. Quincy's! Any Quincy's. You're it. Quincy's. No, any Quincy's, no Startsies. You can't do that!
As Dum Dums Harry and Lloyd head on their cross-country road trip, they meet all sorts of people, including a hitman who's trying to kill them.
We usually don't pick up hitchhikers. But I'm gonna go with my instinct on this one.
Saddle up, partner.
Well, sucks to be that guy, because car rides with these two mean sing-alongs, anti-quitsies, and the most annoying sound in the world.
She's gonna buy me a mockingbird.
That last one was injected into the film by Jim Carrey on the fly, and you can see in Jeff Daniels' reaction that he was not expecting it.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Guys!
Fellas, you think we could listen to the radio or something?
Even the hitman's outburst was unscripted, proving that sometimes unplanned is best. Number 12, look out Bello, Tarzan the Ape Man.
Jane.
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 Yes, Jane. You? Jane.
Jane.
And you? You.
Tarzan.
This jungle-living ape man originated in a series of Edgar Rice Burroughs novels, where his signature sound was described as, quote, the victory cry of the bull ape. When it came to bringing that noise to the screen, Olympic swimmer and once competitive yodeler Johnny Weissmuller was the first actor to succeed where others had failed. Tasked with inventing a call to summon his jungle crew, Weissmuller, and apparently some Hollywood sound editing trickery, combined to create one of the most celebrated, imitated, reused, and easily recognized sound bites in film history. Number 11, I Got a Jar of Dirt. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest.
I'll handle this, mate.
When Jack Sparrow was given the jar of dirt, he was unsure of its power. But when he comes face to face with Davy Jones and the Flying Dutchman, he can't help but flaunt it a little. The script simply had Jack Sparrow calling Davy Jones names with some schoolyard-level taunting, but that didn't sit well with Johnny Depp. The reactions of the rest of the actors are genuine confusion and surprise, as Depp falls down the stairs, only to get up and sing the infectious little ditty to further taunt Jones.
I got a jar of dirt, I got a jar of dirt, and guess what's inside it?
Enough! Number 10, Singin' in the Rain, A Clockwork Orange.
I'm singing in the rain, just singing in the rain.
Always a perfectionist, Stanley Kubrick shot and reshot the scene where the main group of droogs engages in their brand of ultra-violence. But the scene still felt empty, so Kubrick instructed actor Malcolm McDowell to inject a little spontaneity, which he did to the tune of Singin' in the Rain.
And I'm ready for love.
Taking this classic old song and twisting it into such a creepy scene turns out to be a terrifying blend of happiness and evil, and one that will be seared into our brains forever.
From the place goes, I'm with the rain.
Number 9, Hey, I'm Walking Here, Midnight Cowboy. Though there's some debate about whether the scene was actually unscripted, it's still a memorable movie moment that Dustin Hoffman claims to have improvised. He and Jon Voight are walking NYC streets discussing the ins and outs of the gigolo business when, bam! A taxi works its way into the shot, almost running Hoffman down and prompting him to deliver the endlessly quotable line,
And that's where old Daniel comes in, you know what I mean?
Hey, I'm walking here! I'm walking here! Up yours, you son of a bitch! You don't talk to me that way! Get out of here!
Hoffman has said that while he uttered those iconic words, what he really wanted to say was, hey, we're making a movie here. But method acting's his game, so he stayed in character the entire time.
Don't worry about that. Actually, that ain't a bad way to pick up insurance, you know.
Number 8, Boat Envy, Jaws. This ain't just any shark. Chief Brody knows it, and so did the actor playing him. In fact, Roy Scheider was the one who came up with the film's most famous line off the cuff. The first time we actually get a look at the giant great white, Scheider decided to cut the tension with a one-liner that earned its spot in the annals of film history.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
He didn't come up with the phrase on the spot, though. It was actually a common saying on the set. As the story goes, the film's producers didn't spring for a big enough barge to hold all the equipment. So, saying you're gonna need a bigger boat became a running joke among crew members.
You're gonna need a bigger boat, right?
Number 7. Mirror Image, Taxi Driver. Martin Scorsese encourages actors to contribute to his films, and this is one case where he hit pay dirt. The script read, Travis speaks to himself in the mirror. Robert De Niro turned those instructions into one of the most famous and oft-quoted sequences in cinema history.
You talking to me?
Perfectly capturing Travis Bickle's loneliness and alienation, this scene has been cited as the one that says the most about his flawed personality. It's gone on to be referenced time and time again in movies and TV shows alike.
Have you seen your father? You talking to me? What are you, Robert De Niro? Yes, I am talking to you.
Number 6. Funny How? Goodfellas.
Really funny. Really funny. What do you mean I'm funny?
Even if you've never seen this flick, there's one scene you surely know. Scorsese again allowed actors to invent dialogue, which he would retroactively add into the script. And Joe Pesci nabbed an Oscar by showing he could turn on a dime.
You know, you're just funny. It's funny, you know, the way you tell the story and everything. Funny how?
Not only does his improvised diatribe explain his character, it also stops his buddies dead in their tracks and has audiences holding their breath. He manages to keep the tension going just long enough to really emphasize the humor when he finally lets up and admits he's joking.
I almost had him. You stuttering prick yet? Frankie, was he shaking?
Number 5. Hopkins is hysterical, The Silence of the Lambs.
Closer, please. Closer.
Sir Anthony Hopkins is still haunting our dreams with his portrayal of cannibalistic serial killer Dr. Hannibal Lecter, and the scene where he's introduced is arguably his creepiest. And yes, we're counting the muzzle. The mounting tension and quiet hostility between Hannibal and Clarice is palpable, and one sound sums it up best.
A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Call it a hiss, a slurp, whatever. Hopkins invented it on the spot to spook Clarice, creeping us all out at the same time. We'll never be able to get this eerie moment out of our heads, and for that, he more than deserves his Oscar. Number 4. Major Malfunction, Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, you little maggot! You make me want to vomit!
What's the best way to portray how brutal drill instructors are? Hire a real one, obviously. Stanley Kubrick originally enlisted ex-Marine R. Lee Ermey as a consultant for his war flick, thinking he wasn't vicious enough for the drill sergeant role.
You had best yourself or I will unscrew your head and shut down your neck!
But Ermey proved him wrong, and wound up chewing out recruits for almost 40 minutes straight as Gunnery Sergeant Hartman.
You are pukes. You are the lowest form of life on Earth. You are not even human being.
Oh, and he invented about half of his own dialogue, spouting one-of-a-kind insults and unique nicknames left and right.
From now on, you're Gomer Pyle.
Sir, yes, sir.
Do you think I'm cute, Private Pyle? Do you think I'm funny?
Sir, no, sir.
Then wipe that disgusting grin off your face.
Sir, yes, sir.
One thing is for sure, we would not want to be on the receiving end of one of his rants. Number 3, Blood, Sweat, and Smears, Django Unchained.
Would you be so kind as to collect the pistol hanging off these boys' hips here? Thank you ever so much.
When injured on the job, most people would take a 30-second breather before continuing with their day. Not Leonardo DiCaprio. He got so into character for Django Unchained that when he slammed his hand down onto a table during a tense scene, smashing a glass and cutting his hand so badly he required stitches, he just kept right on with his racist rant.
Now lay your palms flat on that tabletop. If you lift those palms off that turtle shell tabletop, Mr. Pooch is gonna let loose with both barrels that sawed off.
Apparently, the room erupted into a standing ovation after the take. DiCaprio even worked the accident into the scene by suggesting they shoot a moment where he smears fake blood across Kerry Washington's face.
If y'all think my price for this here is too steep, what I'm gonna desire to do is...
Number 2, here's Johnny, The Shining. Mirroring the plot of this Stephen King adaptation, Stanley Kubrick caused the downward mental spiral of some of his actors, mainly Shelley Duvall. Helping him along was Jack Nicholson, who improv'd the film's shining moment.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in.
After chasing his family into a bathroom, Jack borrows a popular late-night catchphrase to add comedy and creepiness to the scene.
Here's Johnny.
Channeling Ed McMahon in horrifying fashion, he riled Duvall up so much her screams started to become real. Here's a tip: never play hide and seek with Jack Nicholson. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. We Kid You Not, Casablanca.
Here's looking at you, kid.
This Hollywood classic is full of quotable lines, though some aren't exactly what we think, but that's another story.
Play it once, Sam. For all time's sake.
I don't know what you mean, Miss Elsa.
Play it, Sam. Play as time goes by.
However, only one was unscripted. Representing the couple's bond, the famous words are said by Humphrey Bogart multiple times throughout the film.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Turns out Bogey borrowed the phrase from real life. Between takes, he taught Ingrid Bergman to play poker and would often utter the iconic line to her. Who knew you could ad-lib one of the most famous phrases in film history?
Here's looking at you, kid.
I wish I didn't love you so much.
Did you know these scenes were improvised? Let us know in the comments below.
It was a pleasure doing business with y'all.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.